Greetings and welcome back to the Dead End Drive-In. It's been a minute. I'm Flesh Wound Dan, and I'm joined as always by Dirk and Darren of Subjective Perspective Collective. How goes it, guys?
Oh man, doing pretty good, man. I'm glad. I'm ready for the fall weather. I'm ready for this time of year.
Yeah. Oh God.
Get a cool down a little bit now.
Yeah, I know your neck of the woods. It's like that nasty, like wet heat. It's the same here in Georgia.
Yeah.
And it's finally, at least at night now, it's cool. But Darren, it's probably cold and rough there.
I tell you what, it's been like minus the last couple of days.
Oh
So
shit!
I got my heating on full now in the background. It's it's either, it doesn't really seem to be like fall. We kind of just skip forward the winter, like, but yeah. No, but I'm just looking forward to this. These two, I really, I'll say before, like, I really enjoy both of these.
Oh, fucking right. Hell yeah.
I know, Dirk might be thinking, shit, maybe you don't like.
Yeah, because I mean, the Gothic horror, man. Like, I've come to this realization. I've always loved it, even when I was a little kid. But I love the Gothic even more than slashers.
I agree. I agree as overall. And the movies we're talking about tonight come at a period where Gothic horror was definitely kind of on the outs. I mean, it wasn't, this is post Rosemary's Baby, so it wasn't like these were in vogue at the time. But my God, were there some good ones, particularly out of Italy in the early 70s, and Hammer and the Karstein trilogy, and there was some really good stuff at this time. So I'm eager to talk about two that are not talked about quite as much. I think the Hammer stuff gets a lot of coverage, but some of the Italian Gothics do not. So I am very eager to talk.
Unless it's somebody named Baba or something.
Yes. And just a couple quick plugs before we go, because we haven't recorded one of these in a minute. Of course, you guys are Subjective Perspective Collective, and I don't know when this will air, but what do you guys have on the horizon for that people might be interested in hearing about?
Well, we got Lamberto Bava. We're going to be covering some Lamberto Bava soon. Actually, tomorrow. Wait, no. Not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, but I don't guess that matters on this. So, but
available now.
And we've been doing quite a bit on the Eurocrypt on Dead Pit. And Darren's been doing some things too.
I've just been doing some slasher streams with Chrissy, the slasher dude.
Awesome.
We do every couple of weeks. We might do a little show here and there. But yeah.
Very cool. And well, you guys know where to find me at Flesh Wound Features, but one unique thing that I am doing this Halloween season, and perhaps has already been aired, you can maybe listen to it right now, is I am playing Gus in Pet Sematary 2, a live play. That's the Clancy Brown role, so hopefully I nailed it, depending when you're listening to it, because this is the script that I printed out, and it's like a proper script. I mean, I think we're essentially doing the movie, so something a little bit different for you too. So check that out. But without further ado, we'll get into our first movie of the evening, which is from 1971 and director Mel Wells, who we'll talk about, and it is Lady Frankenstein. And so in this film, we follow I'll give you guys a proper synopsis, because I'm pulling up the the physical release, which just runs down stuff that we're going to talk about. But so Lady Frankenstein is a film that, for me, has never really gotten its proper due on physical media. And I'm happy to say, as Dirk was showing off, even though it's in a box, and I think you could have easily released this separate, this is stacked. And we will actually kind of talk about the extras too, because these
Go ahead.
These Danza Macabre sets are amazing. Like you're not getting just the movie, and we'll talk about that. But for those unfamiliar, this film follows Baron Frankenstein's daughter and his assistant, and also her lover, continue his experiments in an attempt to rebuild his legacy after he is killed by his psychotic, murderous first monster. So just some brief background on this one, because there's a lot of interesting tidbits about this movie in particular. Director Mel Wells, he was approached by a man named Henry Cook Cushing IV of the famous Vanderbilt family with a screenplay titled Lady Dracula. And he was determined to produce a movie with Rosalba Neri, who, quite frankly, he was trying to fuck.
Yeah, basically that he's hunting her down. So he's trying to make movies just to get with her, you know. Like,
yeah,
pretty hardcore though. Like he's just. I mean, I don't blame the guy though. Rosalba Neri's like, she's something, man. Like on the screen, and she can hypnotize the shit out of somebody. You know,
didn't she end up saying that he ended up getting on her nerves?
She resented him, yeah. But she ended up marrying him.
She did for 1 month, before it was annulled.
When it was all said and done, he must have bought her some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know he married her.
Yep, but it's kind of a footnote because it was annulled. I don't even think it was a full month, and it was on the second film that he was able to get her into. But yeah, he was determined to basically make movies to get laid, and then I guess it worked for a month. And
he's like, he got the Neri in the sack.
Hey, that's probably worth throwing some money at a movie. But she famously was on record saying she despised him. She thought he was a spoiled douchebag.
Because she said that she resented him because he never worked a day in his life, and everything was just handed to him, kind of shit, you know.
Yes. So, but oddly enough, after all that, she married him. Mel Wells was ecstatic when he was approached because, you know, it's, the money's all there. Great. This is a dream project. But it turned out that the Lady Dracula script that was what they were to make was actually owned by actor Brad Harris, who wanted to do the movie himself and went on to do that movie himself. So
it was done in Germany, right? It's like 1977. In Germany. It's a comedy horror, and I've seen the trailer for it. It looked really cheesy. I mean, you know,
it's no Lady Frankenstein.
No, hell no.
But it was a unique script, I suppose. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but Wells then kind of has to scramble. He writes a screenplay with his buddy Edward D. Lorenzo, and it's rumored that the Lady Frankenstein script was inspired by Vampirella issue number 4, the story For the Love of Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's what I found too.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, if you want to check that out, Bill Warren story out there. If you've never dived into Vampirella, it's one of the longer running Gothic horror comic books out there. So
I used to check it out, man. And that was back in '69, that issue. So so they were thinking like, I guess he's trying to land Neri, right? But I mean, she'd already done, 99 Women with Franco, and The Seducers with Edwidge Fenech in '68.
Yeah.
And what's that other one? There's another one.
Just do Mark de Sade's film with Franco as well.
Right.
One of his most expensive films, actually. That was
It might be my favorite Franco, by the way. That Justine. I don't know, man. Just the way it looks and everything is fucking amazing. You wouldn't think that that's a Franco film. I'm not trying to stray off the subject, but
oh no, it's fine. Yeah, no, Franco, that period, the stuff he did with Christopher Lee, you compare that to the stuff he made later, which, don't get me wrong, I love a lot of that too. But yeah, you can see the difference in budget for sure.
definitely.
But yeah, no, Rosalba was a star. I don't quite know why her name isn't, at least mentioned in the same circles as like a Barbara Steele or an Edwig Fenwick.
She's a lot like Barbara Steele. Like she's a truly professional actress, man. She went to like, what is that, cinematograph film school in Italy.
Yes.
She graduated that shit, so she's like a trained performer, like
yeah, she's like,
but she'll do things Barbara Steele won't do, like get naked.
Yes,
Like,
That's the thing. Yeah.
I was about to say,
oh my bad.
Barbara Steele was not going to do the French sex murders or
Right.
Slaughter Hotel. She was there. There were limits for Barbara Steele, but yeah, she is kind of like a more sexual Barbara Steele on screen, and there's a good mix of kind of classy roles and more sexual roles. Slaughter Hotel, of course, 99 Women. And just insanely beautiful. And I believe she's in her late 80s now and still, gorgeous. We still have, fortunately, Rosalba, Neri, Barbara Steele, and Edwig Fenwick, and
Barbara Boucher is
still alive. Yeah,
Barbara Boucher's her neighbor. Like they're still hanging out and shit.
That is awesome.
I mean, can you picture that shit? Like walking their little Fifi dogs and shit down the road. I don't know. But
imagine bumping into them, late at night.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And she still looks great. At least recent photos I've seen of her, she looks fantastic.
When you listen to her, I'm sorry, Dan. If you listen to her interviews, though, she just sounds like the sweetest lady. Like and then when she goes into these roles, she really goes into any role that you throw her. She is that character. Like it's fucking.
She's got kind of like a steely edge to her, hasn't she? Like when you look at her, there's something, but she's got that steely edge, yet she's still got that attractive. She's attractive and sexual and all that.
And she never plays the dumbass or like very intelligent characters. All the time. That's getting over on like a villainous character, most of the time. But
she was never the ditz that was just there to get killed and get naked. I mean, she certainly did that, but there was a lot more to her as an actress. And this movie's got a lot of talent behind it, because speaking of Rosalba Neri, of course, she's dubbed, and if you're unfamiliar with this name, the lady that dubbed her, Linda Gary, she was famous for basically being the go-to voice on a lot of popular cartoons. She was Evil Lynn on Masters of the Universe and Tila, and she was Aunt May in the Spider-Man series.
Oh, shit. So, what the hell? That's a deep cut, man. That's a deep ass cut.
That is deep.
Deep cut. Yeah, no, she was the go-to, Linda Gary, and it adds so much, because like you're watching her in this movie and it's like, holy shit, she's hot, but she's also scary. Like it's hard to do that when you're that fucking beautiful.
Think about all the genres, different films, genres. I mean, spy films, westerns, erotic films, sexploitation, giallo, fucking gothic. I mean, all that shit, man. Even some action, some weird ass biblical films too. Esther and the King, like there's some wild shit. But
this movie's got a lot of talent behind it too. Joseph Cotten, who plays the Baron, Frankenstein, he was a huge movie star back in the day. I mean, this is a man who was part of he was in, of course, Citizen Kane, Gaslight, The Third Man. I mean, this was a legit movie star, and quite the get for for Mel Wells. Obviously, there was some scrambling on this movie when it turned out the script fell apart. They had to scramble at the last minute, but he was able to make up that money by going to Roger Corman, who at this time had his hand in a lot of pots, and he was able to finance it in place for finance the overrun that they needed.
Corman was smart about it, though. He gave them the 90 grand they needed, and he said, "But I'm going to have the U.S. rights."
New World.
Yeah.
So, like, they didn't make shit in Italy, hardly.
No, in fact, Mel Wells basically didn't get paid for this movie, but Corman had a big hit with it. It's ironic because the cuts he made, he didn't cut any of the nudity or anything. He cut the plot. He cut
the exposition, and like he's like, this shit's slow and boring. Like the shit describing how everything works in the laboratory. He's like, fuck this, cut that shit out. He's like, he's got a tagline though. I love the tagline. It said, "Only the monster could satisfy her strange desires." That was the tagline. Like it has that poster with the monster, with a huge schlong under a sheet. It's like,
when you think of it as well, with all the sleaze that is actually in this film, which we'll mention in a bit, and then you realize that Dick Randall was behind this as well. So it makes complete sense,
It does, because he wrote the story.
Yeah. Which don't surprise me at all when I first saw it.
You can see, the man behind Pieces and Don't Open Till Christmas.
And what's that other girl in Room 2A?
Right? Oh, that one's. He was
based in Rome, which I was quite surprised to read about. He did quite a few years where he's based in Rome, and that's where you get some of the jolly stuff he done. Obviously early 70s.
There's so much talent behind this, and it's one of those movies that if you've never watched it, you have probably heard audio from it, because Rob Zombie sampled the trailer, which famously, who is this irresistible creature who has an insatiable love for the dead? He pulled that audio for Living Dead Girl on his Hellbilly Deluxe album, so that's where it came from. And again, obviously, there's no mystery here that this is going to be a love fest for these movies. We all love Italian Gothic horror, but the skin is there. I think they're more accessible maybe for people that are just dipping their toes, that do want the exploitation elements. It takes nothing away from the horror or the mood or just the
speaking on that, like the cinematography in this is insane. The lighting, they're in a real castle, and it's like, fuck, you feel like you're there damn near. Like the lighting's, I don't know. I've seen a lot of Neri. I haven't seen everything, but I've seen a whole lot of Neri, and this might be her best fucking role. I'm not saying this is the best movie, but this might be her best role. Like
I think it's in the conversation because again, it's a very
because this is her lead role too. It's like one of her most important films for her,
Right? Yeah, she usually plays like bit parts, doesn't she? Yeah.
It's something where she gets to do a lot too. I mean, there's a big range of emotions. She gets to be seductive and sexy, and there's also a lot with the dad and everything. I think it's a deeper role.
And the whole shit of talking in the doctor, what's his name? Dr. Marshall, Dr. Charles, talking his ass into doing a brain transplant so she can fuck this dude.
So she can get
brain.
What the fuck? And he's stupid enough to go along with it as well.
He just loves the shit out of her.
Kind of good, idea. You got to mention Mickey Harity as well, the guy who's from Delirium.
Yeah,
I think he made it around about this time, and he pops up in loads of stuff. He was married to James Mansfield, I believe.
Yeah, he's a widower, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
he managed to turn up in a lot of the wild Italian stuff at this time. Of course, Bloody Pit of Terror and
yeah,
all
Yeah, the
sorts of
Crimson
crazy.
Executioner, any and that. It's brilliant.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
uh,
Great cast. His role was like basically completely.
did y'all realize? I didn't
done.
realize this shit till we did this one, right? But that guy, Mickey Hargitay.
Mhm.
Did y'all realize who his daughter is?
Yeah, Mariska from
Mariska Hargitay from fucking Law and Order.
one point the highest paid lady on television, I believe, for that
Yeah,
role, too.
that's
Yeah.
insane. I just wouldn't expect that to be her father making delirium and shit, strangling fuckers and shit.
I'm sure he wishes he made some of that Law and Order money, but I'm sure very proud of her.
He was
Down.
Mr. Universe too in 1955. So.
He was really crazy dude too. If you do like a deep dive on his life and Jane Mansfield, there's a lot of crazy stuff there. And yeah, and he's very good here. Another actor whose name is not going to come up a lot, but Herbert Fuchs, who plays the Grave.
Herbert Fuchs.
Yes, sometimes some people said it. So maybe the adult films he wants to be Herbert Fuchs. But yeah, grave robber Tom Lynch. What a sleazebag! He's so good in this movie.
Yeah,
he kind of tries to kind of work out a Weinstein type deal with Rosalba.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote his line down. He says, "What does he say?" He says he's like trying to get her to have sex with him because she's got money to pay him, for the dead body or whatever. He's like, no, just pretty much like get it. He's like hinting to get it on with him, and he's like, and after you can take a bath and everything will be brand new again.
Yeah. He adds a lot to this. He's definitely the sleazier part of this film. And yeah, it's so rare because I mean, being that it does go there, but it still functions as is still a proper classy Gothic horror story. Is just amazing to me. The Italian Gothics and how they were able to balance that.
You can tell Wells is a true fan of the genre too, because he, if you hear him talk about it, this is his type of horror. Like he, the slow mood and even though this is a mixed bag, though, like I guess you got other people involved, like Dick Randall. And,
yeah, but didn't he, like Wells, actually come up and he learned a lot from Bava because didn't he work on? I think it was Baron Blood's Hatchet for the Honeymoon and The Whip and the Body. And
he did some voice. He did some voice acting for Bava and Freda too.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, with those films, he did the voice work. But I was surprised that he was an actor as well, and he was in Chopping Mall. And the scene I remember him from is The Last American Virgin, when the three boys go into the chemist and they got crabs, and he's the guy in the chemist who gives them the cream. And I was like, shit, that's actually him. Like,
Little Shop of Horrors probably would that be like his biggest role or no?
I mean, when you consider
I would say so, yeah.
That movie still plays everywhere. I mean, it's something that's just much like, Night of the Living Dead, not putting it on par with that, but it's just one of those movies that just keeps getting re-released. And that's definitely one of his big titles. He's a guy that got to do a little bit of everything. I mean, from dubbing to acting to directing and writing. I mean, he was another jack of all trades and so many great movie memories. Sadly, Mel Wells is another reason why I think we all do our podcasts, because that name is just it's not out there like it should be, right? Because he left a hell of a legacy.
Like digging into his stuff, like this on this edition, especially in the features, man. Like I didn't realize that he goes to Australia and starts some kind of spooky show in Australia, like and brings like a taste of America to Australia. And he died in 2005, unfortunately. But
sadly,
It's insane though, the amount of people that worked on this film. So you got the music by Alessandroni, and he's responsible for All the Colors of the Dark,
Hell yeah.
$5 for an August Moon, One on Top of the Other, Killer Nun, Devil's Nightmare. Which
Damn
I
it.
always get this one mixed up with the Devil's Nightmare because those two films. For
It's
some
great
reason,
double.
yeah,
That's why we're
yeah,
doing it.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
And
like
the cinematographer as well, that Dirk mentioned, Riccardo Palatini.
yeah.
He did The Killer Must Kill Again, Highway Racer, The Unnaturals, which is kind of an unseen giallo film from '69. So yeah, the actual cast and crew in this is insane.
It is,
Absolutely
dude.
insane.
Yeah. And the set they use, so that's a set, the laboratory area.
Yeah.
And they use that same fucking set for Flesh for Frankenstein.
Right. Yeah.
Andy Warhol. You know.
Yeah, the Castle Piccolomi. It's also appeared in some films we've already mentioned tonight: Bloody Pit of Horror, Devil's Wedding Night, The Black Magic Rites. You see this castle. You see this castle everywhere, and even more talent behind this one. You get special effects from the iconic Carlo Rambaldi, who, he created E.T.
Yeah, no shit.
This guy's resume is insane. Alien, Dune, Close Encounters, Silver Bullet, Deep Red. He was the set designer on Danger Diabolique. He is just an absolute legend. And
it's kind of crazy to hear Neri talk about this, how shitty the effects are in this movie. Like
that's what I read. Yeah, I read that.
She was like, I don't see why people like this kind of movie because with the updated effects, and I was like, well, it is what it is.
There's one shot in the film where the monster actually picks up this girl. They're having sex, this couple, and he throws her into the water. And apparently, she almost drowned.
Yeah,
when that was done.
Yeah. You see her come to. She's supposed to be dead.
Yeah,
right? You see her come alive when she hits the water.
Safety was a suggestion, not so much a rule at this time. That scene is actually quite funny.
It's great.
I think he's supposed to have broken her back or something, but it kind of just looks like I'm just fucking around, throw you naked girl in the water.
Yeah.
It's not maybe the best performance of an actor as the monster. His walk is a little off at times. I don't mind the makeup. I know some people make fun of it, but it's actually quite similar to a lot of Frankenstein designs around this Frankenstein's monster designs around this time. And overall, I think the film looks great. Everything just comes fantastic in this.
A lot of people shit on it because they were like, well, it's not like the other Frankenstein, it's more passive and shit. This Frankenstein is just like, no, there was brain damage during the fucking thing.
Right.
So he's just fucking going around, fucking smashing shit. So by the way, here's a couple of the Italian poster arts. I don't know if y'all can. That's the original Italian.
Yeah.
And here's the other one that I'm talking about.
Beautiful
smashing art. Shit, and he's a vicious monster.
He is. He's kind of He's kind of almost playing it like a slasher at times, but and I don't think everything has to mirror, Karloff or anything. I don't mind. We're in the 70s at this point, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, all that great stuff had been out for a long time. So I don't hold that against it necessarily, but I know that's one of the complaints that they had. And again, considering the Gothic horror was kind of, in its waning days at this time, we did have a lot of female-led horror, particularly just in this early 70s period. In the wake of The Vampire Lovers, which of course is an amazing film, Hammer was moving a little bit more towards that, but then you also had stuff like classic after classic: Blood Spattered Bride, Daughters of Darkness, Vampiros Lesbos from Jess Franco.
There you go.
Yeah. All of that stuff at the time. Some really fantastic films that warrant a watch. And
I forgot to mention Cushing. He started. I hate to keep going back to this, but when he started pursuing Neri is when he saw the film Demon Lover.
Understandable.
He saw Neri and Demon Lover, and he was like, "I gotta have her."
Yes.
I'd love to know the whole story with that marriage, though. I wonder if that's online somewhere where they were just married for a month. Maybe she did it for the money. Maybe she did it for the money because he was rich by all accounts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she obviously didn't like him. Less than a month. I don't know how you manage that.
Could have been a indecent proposal type thing, you know.
Yeah.
You got me for a month. But I mean, a month with her is as good as anything, really. Yeah.
She didn't do many films after this, really. Like there's I think she ends in 1974.
Right. Did she marry into the business then, into like money or like a big producer or something? Because a lot of them did.
She's kind of private because, I mean, she was married to him for a month, and she did marry some guy after that who I believe she's still with. I don't know if he's still alive, but yeah, I think she was just one of those ones. She kind of peaked and decided that was it, and just lived in, I think, a small town outside of Rome, and she's still alive.
I forgot to mention that too. She was offered to come to the actors studio in Hollywood, and she didn't want no part of Hollywood. She just she wanted to stay in Italy. So she could have probably been a bigger star if she really wanted to.
She would have been a Bond girl, I think, for sure. I could have seen her doing,
or a Bond villain, right?
Possibly, if they really wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the purists about this that didn't, it's like, oh, it's so sleazy. I prefer the classy Frankenstein movies. Mary Shelley was a freak.
Yeah.
She lost her virginity to Percy Shelley on her mom's grave. So I don't think she was gonna bat an eye.
That's super freaky.
At this. That is, yeah.
And super creepy.
That is both. Absolutely both. And yeah, this movie too. I mean, again, Joseph Cotten, and I know a lot of people out there may not be familiar with him, but that's one of the great actors of the 1940s. I mean,
and you can tell they didn't have that much money because so they rewrote the script.
Basically, he's in it for 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah,
but
and most of the money went to him too. That was the problem. Like, oh shit, we got.
He did a Hitchcock film, didn't he? Was it Shadow of a Doubt in the 40s?
Oh yeah. He was a huge A-list star at that time.
But he was doing Baron Blood around about this time as well, maybe a little bit later. Yeah.
Duel in the Sun, Neri she brought that one up, that she loved him in Duel in the Sun. And there's Journey into Fear, 1943.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, go back and look at some of his early stuff if you like old Hollywood, because he was just fantastic in just about everything at that time. But
he's also considered he never won an Academy Award, and out of the 100 greatest actors, he's one of the 100 greatest actors that never won an Academy Award. So
probably pretty high up on that list, to be honest. It's quite surprising that he never got that moment. But
what do you think about his acting in this one, though?
I was going to say, do you think he hams it up in this and Baron Blood? Because
he's in Dr. Phibes too, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's ironic because Vincent Price and the abominable Dr. Phibes gave him advice. He's like, always play it straight. That was his advice to him. Don't always play it straight. Yeah, and it'll work out. I mean, God, I mean, obviously most people listening to this podcast are going to know him more from Abominable Dr. Phibes and things of that nature. But I mean, every genre, the guy is an absolute Hollywood legend. So whatever you like, he's in some of it. So
he pops up in a film I like a lot as well, called The Hearse.
Oh yeah.
The Hearse is great.
Yeah.
That's a creepy little film. Yeah.
That's a good one for this
1980.
time of year, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, we can do the hearse sometimes. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'd love to do that one.
great movie. 1980, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this one, if you get a chance, and if you can't get it in time for Halloween, depending when this episode airs, I recommend any of these movies around wintertime. They're just great, wintertime horror watches.
Rainy night type shit,
Yeah.
too.
Exactly. And I think, the little bit of gore that we have and a lot of the sex in this film, because I'm not overselling it. I mean, Rosalba Neri is right up there with some of these ladies. I mean, Edwig Fenwick may be one of the most beautiful women to ever walk the earth, but Rosalba's like right up there.
But Rosalba is, like I said, I've said it earlier, but she kind of I think her acting abilities far exceeds most of people in the Jolly.
She wasn't just a pretty face. She was she was fantastic. I wish she had made more movies, but at the same time, I don't know. It would have been great to see her show up in some of Fulci's later stuff. If she was in the mix.
She's in a comedy, Fulci comedy, right?
4 Times That Night. Yes, she was in that, I believe. So she did, but yeah, like some of that stuff that came later, I would have liked for her to have stuck around even just another, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, just been in the mix, because she never lost her looks. I mean, I
was gonna say, she was a little bit older than Edwig Fenwick. They did a film together called Top Sensation that we mentioned earlier. But I was thinking, do you think maybe she just, like, even though she never lost her looks, you had the likes of Barbara Boucher and all, Erica Blanc and all these coming along, and maybe that's why kind of pushed her out a little bit. But I'd like to get the proper, story on why she left the industry.
It's sad just in general back then. I mean, particularly Hollywood, but just film in general. I mean, you got too much over 30, you were just kind of done. I actually feel that that's changed a little bit. I mean, I think Nicole Kidman's well into her 50s, and she's, I think, got an erotic thriller coming out. So that wouldn't have happened back then. And it's again, it's a shame, because I'm sure we all would have been down for some Rosalba Neri erotic thrillers if she had made it to that wave of film.
Yeah.
But
what we do got is much appreciated. I gotta say, hats off to Rosalba Neri. She don't get enough love. I
mean, if you want to see a good scene with her, like, just watch Amok. That lesbian scene in there. Slaughter Hotel as well.
Slaughter Hotel is great too. Like She's an info in that one.
Slaughter Hotel is a sleazy little movie. I love that movie.
Oh man, I love that film. Yeah.
And the ending to this too is also just really, really cool with Charles and Tanaya Frankenstein, who is Lady Frankenstein. That whole scene with Charles kind of getting some of his payback there at the very end, I thought was really quite good. I love this film. I don't know why it's not considered more of a classic, but maybe there's some of you out there like us that believe that it is, because
man, it's on Tubi, I think, too, if y'all want to check it out. If you don't want to get the Severin release, I mean, you have to. I think you have to get this box. They don't have a single release yet, right?
They don't. I can imagine they wouldn't, though, with how much. There's 2 audio commentaries that are very in depth, interviews, a documentary on there,
all kind of shit.
They always get me with box sets, like, particularly, Severin's done a really good job, because even the expensive ones, and I know that Black Emmanuel set is insanely pricey, but it is worth every penny. Like, there is so much that they put on there, so I highly recommend it. But what do you guys rate Lady Frankenstein?
Well, man, I gotta go 8.5 out of 10. I really do. It's quite. I mean, if I'm just rating her performance, though, that's a 10 out of 10 performance for Neri, like, in my opinion. And just the way it looks, the way it's lit, the vibe, the mood, the atmosphere, fucking great Gothic, Italian Gothic horror. But it does have the American. You can tell because there's some American shit going on in this too. So,
yeah, the
American
Randall
director.
kind of influence.
yeah.
For me, yeah, it's got the Hammer feel to it, Gothic Hammer feel to it.
Yeah.
I would put it a strong, I would say 6.5, maybe a 7 out of 10. And that's
fair.
pretty good for me,
Yeah.
But it's one that I'm sure I'm gonna want to keep watching because I originally seen it in the crappy old 50 pack and it was awful. The print was terrible. I managed to get hold of a print of the release Dirt got, and to watch it like that is just like day and night, really.
It's great, man. It's really clean.
You can do a lot worse than this. Just throw it on, before. If you've got like a double night with Devil's Nightmare, like you mentioned, or it's just good fun. I was laughing as well half the time. But
oh yeah, it's a fun ass movie, man. It's fun.
It is. It is. Other than for me, like any complaints. I mean, okay, the makeup maybe not perfect on the monster, but I don't dislike it. Maybe some of the unintentional comedy, I can't strike that because I thought it was hilarious when he just threw her in the water. So the tone, the mood, the actors, it's got so much going on for it. So I'm a 9 out of 10.
Okay. Nice.
Cool.
So.
You
guys
the look of the monster though is so hokey, and then he just walks around like a normal person half the time.
And then there's another.
You just gotta laugh, man.
Yeah, and then you get another monster.
Right.
Yeah.
You get like a handsome monster and an ugly ass monster. So I don't know.
Yeah, man. Highly
with
recommend
some
it,
twisted ideas from Lady Frankenstein.
Everybody was firing on all cylinders too. I think that's one standout thing. The cast, just everybody was great. The side characters, I think everybody hits a home run. And as you said, this was on a lot of those packs. This is worth the upgrade.
Definitely.
It's just such a beautiful looking movie, and it is definitely worth the upgrade. And seeing it uncut, I don't know some of those prints if they're even uncut. So yeah, check that out. So our second film that we're going to talk about tonight is The Devil's Wedding Night from 1973, and we'll get into this.
AKA Full Moon of the Virgins.
Full Moon. Yeah. I like Full Moon of the Virgins actually a lot.
Yeah.
I might have gone with that title, but Devil's Wedding Night's a good title. So it's from 1973, and so director Luigi Bazzella, which we'll talk about, but also Joe D'Amato, who shot some scenes for this. He was also the cinematographer. But did direct some scenes. So really, this is a 2-man show, which these two guys have worked together before. But in Devil's Wedding Night, in this one, a man goes to Transylvania searching for a cursed ancient ring. His quest brings him to Castle Dracula, where he discovers and falls for a strange, beautiful woman who turns out to be Countess Dracula. It seems she's hell-bent on bringing old Drac back to life. She succeeds, too. The man is put under the Countess's evil spell. His twin brother eventually shows up and tries to save him. So this film, what did you guys think? I know it was a labor of love for Mark Damon, who we'll talk about here in a bit.
Yeah, and I was telling you before, like that. I believe I saw this very, very young, because I used to rent the Elvira from the VHS and all.
Yeah,
and like I remembered it, like just I probably didn't piece it all together, but I do remember bits and pieces, especially the glowing red ring and shit like that. But yeah, I mean, this is right up my alley, man. This is this shit got cut to pieces, dude. This film did.
Yeah, it did. I think that's the vision I saw, because I saw that Elvira. I think it was like a DVD.
Yeah,
and there was so many jump cuts, but I mean, it doesn't take away from the film at all. It's just batshit crazy, in a similar vein, like wise to Lady Frankenstein. But No, it's just fun, isn't it? You know, I'm not usually a fan of like the twins in films because it
Mhm.
usually confuses me, but this one it didn't. It's kind of straight, you know, the way they do it. Yeah, this is just so much fun.
It's
Can't wait to
it's
talk about this.
it's cool though with the twins because then you have like split you have like a split hero, right? Like
Mhm.
one
Yeah,
guy's he's lusting for power. He wants to get this damn ring because supposedly he could take control of the fucking world with it. And then the other brother, the twin brother, is like this intellectual type,
right.
like I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah,
But no, man. And one thing I noticed though, so I looked up and then I thought about it, I was like, so I'll bring this up a little bit. Okay. 1973, this was released in March of 73,
Mhm.
and they mentioned Pazuzu in this film.
they do. Yeah, yeah.
And Exorcist didn't come out until December of 73. But then I thought, well, maybe they read the fucking novel from 71. So,
Probably. Yeah,
you know what I mean? But
Mark Damon was also a big time Hollywood producer. We just lost him. He died May 12th, 2024.
yeah.
So he always had his finger on the pulse. I'm sure
Right.
he read the novel.
But that's
yeah.
surprising. Pazuzu gets a little mention in here. The Demon King or whatever.
I was surprised as well. Wasn't this film was basically his baby there, Mark Damon. He wanted to, you know, he's the one behind it, basically the brains.
Yeah, he was, and great actor too. Because, like you said, twin stuff sometimes it is a little distracting, but he had no problem playing, the sleazy brother and then the bookworm. That opening scene, it seems pretty obvious he's planning to double cross you with all of this.
Yeah.
And what does this ring do? And where were you? Where exactly are you? Is it located? Pretty obvious. He was pulling the double cross, I think.
Think about where he came from too, like Black Sabbath, 1963. You know, he was in the Wordalock
segment
portion.
Yeah.
He was in Naked You Die as well, the Giallo from '68.
Right.
Yeah, he's got every like I said. I mean, he played Philip Winthrop in Roger Corman's Fall of the House of Usher, one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Right.
Mark Damon is an icon, and he did a lot of trash too. Byleth, The Demon of Incest, which I know is also on Blu-ray.
Executive producer for The Neverending Story.
Oh my god.
His producer credits are off the wall, man. He did Captivity, Monster, Fear.com, Eye of the Beholder, Dark Angel, like you say, The Lost Boys. I was like blown away when I saw it.
Right. But Neverending Story tripped me out. I wasn't expecting that.
No. He was a very wealthy guy. I mean, Monster with Charlize Theron, which won an Oscar. He was busy up until the very end. I mean, he produced Willy's Wonderland with Nick Cage and stuff like Short Circuit too. So I always admire these people that are able to make their mark. I mean, all those genres we mentioned there that he has his hands in. I just think that's very cool. I mean, Fall of the House of Usher alone makes him an icon in my book. But Wordalack might be one of the best segments in any horror anthology ever made.
So for sure.
And this is another one. It's quite action packed too for a Gothic horror film. It gets pretty epic towards the end when we have these vampire brides that they're doing battle with, and this one I think even goes a little bit further on the sex. If you've seen the uncut version, I mean, we have that black mass scene, which is just absolutely stacked with nudity, but
it was worse. It was worse even than that though. Like there was full frontal nudity, and in the script toward the end there was like a mass fucking orgy going on. While they were stabbing the virgins in the neck. I was like, fuck. Why didn't we get that version?
Why didn't we get that in there? Exactly.
I mean, because it's essentially an Elizabeth Bathory story at the same time. The scene where Rosalba is just fully nude, covered in the blood, and just rising up.
It's
probably one of
iconic, dude.
It is.
It is.
It should be more so, because I mean, a lot of people talk about the kind of Bathory homage that they did in Hostel 2, and I was like, that's a hell of a scene, but I don't think it beats Rosalba Neri in this film.
Is it a Hammer film? Which film is that? That there's a similar scene, right?
Countess Dracula. That is, I think the scene. You're on
Countess Dracula.
Okay. That's one. There's a few, but I mean, that's yeah. Yeah,
but you've got to mention like the special effects as well, because they had no money, and the bat effects. I was just cracking up laughing.
Oh yeah, the
when she turns into a bat, and then especially the one scene towards the end when it's just a full on man.
It's just a huge fucking screen, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, I
love it though, man. And
that's what I mean. It's cheesy.
And she's playing it like all the way, man. Like,
straight all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, she's that damn vampire. You know?
She is. And this one again, I Lady Frankenstein maybe is a little bit better made in some areas, but this one still hits that Gothic vibe just right. Beautiful castle, beautiful women.
Is that blue? You have the Blu-ray, right?
Yes. It could use a new one too, because I've got a couple versions of this, but to show off, like, that's the Code Red one.
Cool.
It's due like an Arrow or Severin release at this point.
There's one release that's crazy stupid money on eBay. They want like 75, $80 for it, and it's like, no, it's got a different cover than that one. I have that one coming, but is the print got that scratch in the middle, like in some of the scenes?
Minus, and on the Elvira, got loads of scratches.
This one's a pretty good print. It's a lot better than the Elvira print.
Okay. I got that one coming. So
for me, these movies are worth, again, the upgrade, because they're just so beautiful to look at. So it doesn't, the scratchy prints aren't hiding anything really. This I want to see it because they're just such wonderful films. I mean, the matte painting era, although we don't get too much of that in these, but those movies are always, to me, worth the upgrade, the post stuff, and
but this is these are the type of films when I was a kid that why I fell in love with vampires. It was watching shit like this. Like, I wanted to be a vampire after seeing Rosalba Neri in a bloodbath.
There's exceptions to the rule, but like modern vampire movies usually don't work for me. Right. I mean, there's some that are essentially action movies, and I don't even count those. But it's like I don't want to see the brooding, like, male underwear model vampire that's like living in a skyrise somewhere in New York. I want to see like Gothic castles, and that this is more my speed when it comes to that.
Virgins being hypnotized,
exactly.
Naked.
Exactly. That's what I gravitate towards. And we talked a little bit briefly, but director Luigi Batzella, he is known for directing The Beast in Heat, which
hell yeah, that's a masterpiece, by the way.
It is a masterpiece. I will not use the term classy to describe that one, but it is a masterpiece to me.
He actually acted in that as well.
He did. Yeah. He also directed Nude for Satan, another really good one that I like. And he also co-directed again with Joe D'Amato on the spaghetti western God Is My Colt number 45. So there's that. Mark Damon, we could go all day. I mean, he was also a spaghetti western guy. I mean, he was in Carlo Lazzani's Requiescant, and I mean, just too many. Yeah,
D'Amato went on record saying like that he basically borrowed from Bava, from like some of the techniques, like especially the one scene where they're all laughing and it's like when he gets drugged from the wine, like that scene, and it's all like trippy like shit. Yeah, he borrowed from like the haunted world of Hercules or Hercules in the haunted world. I mean, and D'Amato, dude, you can tell that if you've seen enough of his films, you can tell that's his cinematography. I mean,
he's there for the sexploitation shots as well. I think D'Amato.
Yeah.
No, D'Amato. I, as a lover of his films, I'll never tell anybody that there weren't some, more shoddy, quickly put together films. But actually, shoddy is not the word I would use. I mean, he always managed to do something entertaining, much like a Bruno Mattei. Not going to call those A-list films, but goddamn, always entertained me.
Everything looks very fucking good too. Like I
don't think he gets the respect he deserves.
Like think about like the Antichrist, right? I mean, he shot the Antichrist in '74.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you done to Solange? He shot.
Yeah.
But as a director, if you think about it, as a director, Absurd is one of the best kind of Halloween rip-off slashers there is,
Right.
Anthropophagus, of course, is just great. The brooding atmosphere in that.
It is.
And Death Smiles on a Murderer, he actually did a really pretty good giallo.
Death Smiles on a Murderer,
He did Naked Warriors, the arena with Rosalba, Neri, and Pam Grier.
The arena is really good. But Death Smiles on a Murderer, I mean, that's one that is just a great giallo period.
Yeah,
not just for like Joe D'Amato. I mean, it's really good
Gothic giallo with Klaus Kinski and fuck, man. What's her name? It's in there. The lead actress. I can't think of her name.
I can't think of them. Yeah,
but that's a great one. If you get a chance.
That's worth seeking out. I for a lot of you out there that might be like new to all this, I highly recommend sometimes just find one of these directors and kind of go down through the list. I'm not saying you won't encounter some duds, but it's
Porno Holocaust.
I wouldn't blindly recommend Porno Holocaust.
Right.
Didn't he do a lot of those Emmanuel films as well? Or didn't
he did most of them. Most of the Gemser Black Emmanuel stuff, he did a good chunk of those. And on Flesh Wound Features, we review that entire box set. So if you're curious about Black Emmanuel, and God, it probably took us like 8 months to do shows on all
I can
of the
imagine,
movies.
Damn.
It was
a lot of shit in that box, right?
There's a lot of movies and a lot of stuff on top of it. There's something like I know there's a book and it's not out. He's working on it and he talks about it in the extras where he's trying to basically cover every Emmanuel movie ever made. And it's somewhere between 400 and 500 films.
Damn.
Now, some just use the name and it's like a little, but there's a lot to that. It branches off. You get into Emmanuel in space and some of this more recent-ish stuff from the last 20 years or so. But yeah, Devil's Wedding Night. I think this is every bit as entertaining and fun as Lady Frankenstein. I just think Lady Frankenstein maybe is a little bit better, but it's kind of maybe the most perfect double that we've done as far as just similarity.
And giving some big love to Rosalba Neri. And I'm getting confused now. I think it was this one that she said she was kind of disappointed that there was a French version of this came out and it had a body double and it was porn scenes inserted with her.
Yeah.
So she wasn't happy about that shit. But
that was always the Jess Franco special. Although sometimes he didn't direct. I mean, he usually didn't direct a lot of that stuff. But Christopher Lee famously was in New York, and it's like one of your movies is playing at the porno theater.
Yeah. Shit. And she said she also said that this wasn't a horror movie, and I was like, "What? What are you talking about?"
she had
That's
some,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
she had some unique takes on stuff. But
Yeah,
I
I love
I would,
listening to her though. You know, it's
yeah,
just she's cool, man. Like she's cool as hell.
I wish
They
she
did
was a little
actually,
more proud of it because I do think these are very strong.
yeah.
Yeah.
They did actually try to cut this film as well, for the erotic content. So where we got the lovemaking sequence, it was kind of shortened, and they were told like all scenes to be eliminated where a man kisses the lower part of a woman's body.
Right.
So there is different versions of this everywhere out there.
Yeah.
It's complex when people ask, like, is it uncut? And it's like, well, that's
Which
yeah.
cut are you watching?
Yeah, because there's a lot, particularly of this, which is why I really would like a definitive Blu-ray
Yeah.
release that
We
really
need the
kinda
uncut.
yeah.
There has to be another edition of this coming along the way. I don't think you can get it
Yeah.
over here in the UK.
Could you imagine this in 4K though? Like, I mean,
Oh, it
man,
would look
yeah.
amazing.
it's
Sorry
funny
about my
though. I
dog.
did like watching it this time. I did notice the fucking string when the windows open.
That adds to it though, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah, I love it though. I love that kind
Yeah,
of shit, man. So,
You know, people will point out the string, and it's like I get it, but
I dig it
take
though. Yeah.
I'll take seeing that string over just some digital effect
Yeah.
or the the recycled bat from a previous movie versus
man,
a
yeah.
CGI bat. So that doesn't really bother me much at all.
Nah, it adds
I'm
to it for
fine.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does. So what do you guys rate this one?
I'm gonna go 7.5 out of 10 on this one. It's Lady Frankenstein, like I love both, and this is a perfect double feature. It really is, man.
Yeah.
Not just spooky season, just on a, like we said earlier, a
Cold,
stormy, rainy
night.
night in the wintertime. Pop these two on, man. You're gonna have fun. You're gonna have a good time.
You will.
For me, I'd say like a strong 6.5, like almost a 7. I kind of like Lady Frankenstein, just that half a point, maybe more.
Right.
But I completely agree with Dirk. I think this, or you could throw it on with an early Bava film as well.
Yeah.
It'd go well. But I highly entertaining. I love all this exploitation and all that. But I had seen it before because we were going to do Rosalba Neri on our show at one time. We were going to do a shitload of her films. I think we ended up watching like 10 or 15 in a row.
Yeah, we watched
this would have been up there in the top like 5 or 10 for me. So yeah, I love this one as well.
Yeah, we had watched most of her filmography. We just ended up not doing that show, but
we'll probably end up doing it at some point. Yeah.
Right.
We'll have to do Slaughter Hotel for sure at some point.
Yeah, hell yeah. Maybe a girl in apartment 2A or something.
Oh, I'm down for that too. I give this one an 8. Again, I know my ratings are high, but what can I say? It's what I like.
No, man, you love what you love,
man,
you know? Yeah.
I give it a 7.5, but it's
yeah. And,
I mean the imagery in this is,
and I know you guys showed off the book, but I just wanted to show it off again because Roberto Curti does some amazing work.
He does, man.
There's 3 volumes of these. Grab them all. They're great, especially if you're just dipping your toes. It'll run down just about everything that you need to see. And so yes. Check out these movies. Let us know what you think. Also, if this is your first foray into Rosalba Neri's movies, what are some of your favorites? Drop that in the comments. And I know we promoted at the beginning of the show, but once again, check out Subjective Perspective Collective. Be sure to sub to that for Flesh Wound Features, Visited by Voices Network, which you're listening to now. Be sure to check out all the shows on this channel. There's a lot of good ones. And Region Free, of course, the 13th of every month. And yeah, on that note, gentlemen, anything to close us out?
I just got to mention one more thing
Go
I
for
didn't
it.
mention on The Devil's Wedding Night, aka Full Moon of the Virgins.
I noticed none of us wanted to try and pronounce the Ring of the Nibelungen.
No.
Right. Yes.
We avoided it.
So that when I was talking about they borrowed from Bava, it also borrowed from Twins of Evil. That was the film that I was thinking.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
If you love those movies,
when she's approaching the camera, you know,
I mean, those are stone cold classics as well. But I mean, you probably haven't necessarily seen these two, so go out there, check them out.
And that's what I was saying too. Like that there's no wonder that I wanted to be a vampire when I seen her approaching the camera like that. You know, I was like, shit.
I would not put up much of a fight against her. She's up there close to, I mean, female vampire is a big one with Lena Romay for me. And she's got a similar scene. So let us know who do you think is the hottest vampire out there? Yeah. Drop it in the comments. And ladies, feel free to participate as well. Because I'm sure you got your favorites as well. All right, guys. On that note, we will see you back here next time for more Dead End Drive-In. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Have a good one, guys.
Later, y'all.